January 14, 1945, Ardennes Forest, Belgium. A lone American soldier crouches behind the splintered remains of a farmhouse wall. His rifle, scarred and rusted from months of constant use, rests against his shoulder. Across the snow-dusted clearing, 6 German soldiers advance, their boots crunching softly but deliberately. The forest holds its breath. His breath clouds the frigid air, each exhale visible as he tightens his grip. Around him, the remnants of shattered equipment and abandoned supplies whisper stories of battles past. The Germans move with confidence, unaware that their calculated advance is about to meet unexpected precision. The soldiers' eyes scan the approaching line, noting the rhythm of their march, the subtle sway of rifles, the faint glint of helmets under the gray winter light. Time seems to stretch. 40 seconds. 40 heartbeats. He steadies the rifle, tests the trigger, and aims. In this frozen moment, experience, instinct, and sheer survival converge. 1 soldier. 1 weapon. 6 enemies. The first shot cracks the silence, and the tide begins to shift. By January 1945, the Allied forces were deep into the heart of Europe, facing a German army that, despite months of retreat, still retained pockets of ferocity and tactical skill. The United States Army, having landed in Normandy in June 1944, had pushed relentlessly across France, liberating towns and villages, and forcing the Wehrmacht into a defensive posture along the borders of Germany and occupied Belgium. The Ardennes Forest, a dense expanse of trees, hills, and narrow passes, had already witnessed sporadic clashes, but the winter of 1944-45 brought a new intensity. The Battle of the Bulge, launched in December 1944, had shocked Allied command. Hitler's counteroffensive aimed to split the American and British lines, seize Antwerp, and demoralize the Allies before reinforcements could consolidate. American soldiers, many young and recently deployed, had endured freezing conditions, limited supplies, and relentless enemy pressure. Units were stretched thin, relying on sheer discipline and the experience of veteran officers to hold fragile lines. Within this chaos, riflemen like Private First Class James Harper, our central figure, were often the first and last line of defense. The standard issue M1 Garand was reliable, but Harper's rifle had seen months of relentless action. The finish was chipped, the bolt rusted, and the stock scarred from handling and cold weather contraction. His comrades had joked about it, calling it more a relic than a weapon, but in battle, performance mattered far more than appearance. Every soldier knew that their rifle, their training, and their nerve could determine life or death. American forces relied heavily on coordinated fire, artillery support, and rapid communication to overcome the entrenched German positions. Infantry units moved carefully through snow-laden roads and forested paths, constantly wary of snipers, machine gun nests, and the enemy's unpredictable counterattacks. Reconnaissance was essential, but in the Ardennes, dense trees and uneven terrain made visibility limited. The Germans, adept at defensive warfare, used the landscape to their advantage, establishing hidden observation posts and ambush points along predictable paths. Morale across the front line fluctuated. Despite harsh conditions, the American army drew strength from cohesion, supply lines that, though occasionally disrupted, remained operational, and the leadership of experienced officers who instilled discipline and calm under fire. Stories of individual heroism, snipers holding bridges, squads repelling larger forces, circulated quickly and inspired others. Harper had heard these stories from fellow riflemen, each anecdote reinforcing the unspoken truth. A single soldier, properly positioned and focused, could make a difference in the smallest skirmishes and the largest engagements alike. The German units advancing through the Ardennes at this time were no strangers to battle. They were veterans of years of conflict, well-trained in tactics that exploited American overconfidence and fatigue. They relied on surprise, speed, and the discipline of combined arms, coordinating infantry, armor, and artillery whenever possible. Yet, despite their experience, the strain of continuous retreats, supply shortages, and Allied air superiority began to erode their operational effectiveness. By January 1945, these units were increasingly stretched, facing not just the physical hardships of winter but the psychological weight of a campaign slipping from their grasp. For Harper and his squad, the situation demanded constant vigilance. Even a single lapse in attention could be fatal. The Ardennes' unforgiving terrain meant that ambushes could appear from any direction, and the soldiers had to maintain a balance between aggression and caution. Each patrol, each sentry rotation, and each careful step carried the weight of both tactical necessity and personal survival. As the Americans prepared for the next wave of German movements, small moments of individual initiative became critical. It was not enough to wait for orders. Soldiers were expected to act decisively when opportunities presented themselves. In this environment, Harper's worn rifle, despite ridicule, would prove to be more than adequate. A tool in the hands of a soldier who understood its mechanics, his surroundings, and the fleeting window of opportunity in which to act. This tension, the clash of preparation against uncertainty, set the stage for the moment when Harper would confront the advancing German squad. His role, seemingly minor in the broader scope of the war, would nonetheless demonstrate the impact of precision, nerve, and the intimate understanding of both weapon and terrain. The Ardennes, still shrouded in snow and shadow, awaited the next action that could shift the immediate balance of the battlefield. The Ardennes forest, with its dense undergrowth, frozen streams, and narrow trails, was a double-edged sword for the Americans. It offered cover, yet it also funneled troops into predictable paths. By mid-January 1945, American units had adapted to this reality, using high ground and abandoned structures as observation points, while German patrols exploited the same terrain for ambushes. Harper's platoon was stationed along one such choke point, a snow-covered lane flanked by skeletal trees and remnants of destroyed vehicles. The position was tactically vital. If the Germans broke through here, they could threaten the larger supply route feeding the front. American doctrine emphasized defensive positioning, overlapping fields of fire, and interlocking squad sectors. Harper's squad had been trained for rapid response, target prioritization, and fire discipline, all essential when facing superior enemy numbers. Yet, even with training, the practicalities of battle imposed limits. Equipment failures, frostbite, fatigue, and stress could all erode a soldier's effectiveness. Harper, familiar with the idiosyncrasies of his aged M1 Garand, had developed a rhythm, cycling the bolts smoothly, accounting for slight misalignments, and compensating for the cold's effect on his grip. Enemy strength in this sector was estimated at a squad of 6 to 8 men, advancing cautiously under the assumption that American forces were dispersed and vulnerable. The Germans carried standard carabiner 98K rifles, a light machine gun, and grenades. They relied on coordinated movement, using cover and concealment to mask approach until reaching optimal engagement distance. Each step they took was calculated, minimizing noise and maximizing tactical advantage. Harper's awareness of these patterns was critical. Any misjudgment could result in his position being overrun before support could arrive. Communication within the American unit had been established using hand signals and short-range radios, but in the dense forest, reception was inconsistent. Orders were often delayed, forcing individuals to act independently. Harper understood that the responsibility for halting an enemy advance could rest squarely on his shoulders. The psychological pressure was immense. One soldier's hesitation could cost multiple lives, yet decisive action at the right moment could preserve the defensive line. The physical condition of the men was another variable. After weeks of continuous combat, with limited rest and harsh winter conditions, fatigue was pervasive. Despite this, discipline remained high. Soldiers like Harper relied on muscle memory and training. Every drill practice stateside or in previous campaigns was now tested under life or death circumstances. The contrast between theoretical preparation and brutal reality created a heightened awareness in every soldier, sharpening instincts and fostering both fear and focus. American leadership in the sector emphasized empowerment within the chain of command. Small unit leaders were granted latitude to make immediate tactical decisions. This approach encouraged initiative but also demanded responsibility. Harper, though a private, had shown consistent reliability in past skirmishes, earning the trust of his squad leader. His decision-making in the coming seconds would reflect not only personal skill but the confidence instilled by his commanders. Meanwhile, the Germans approached with calculated intent. Their discipline suggested experience, but subtle signs betrayed uncertainty, hesitations in movement, quick glances towards suspected American positions, and the occasional misstep in snow that disrupted rhythm. Harper's observant eyes noted every nuance. He had learned to read not only the physical environment but also the behavioral patterns of the enemy, anticipating their movements with uncanny precision. The combination of environment, fatigue, enemy pressure, and weapon condition created a tension-filled equilibrium. In this suspended moment, small actions carried outsized consequences. Harper's squad, though numerically sufficient to hold the line, depended on coordination, timing, and individual initiative. The advancing Germans were unaware that their approach would meet an unexpected counter, a rifle, long considered unreliable by its own unit, wielded by a soldier whose patience, skill, and awareness were exceptional. This tactical setup, tight positioning, high stakes, and imminent engagement, would soon give rise to a moment of extraordinary precision. The factors converged: American training, German approach, Harper's familiarity with his weapon, and the unforgiving yet manageable terrain. The stage was set for a confrontation that, while brief, would demonstrate the profound impact a single, determined soldier could exert on the battlefield. At the core of every battlefield moment is the human element: fear, focus, and instinct. For Private Harper, the approaching Germans were not faceless adversaries but a tangible threat, each step bringing them closer to the line he had sworn to defend. The human experience of combat is often distilled into seconds, heartbeats counted against seconds of exposure, decisions made under stress. Harper's anticipation, his ability to remain calm while analyzing the enemy's rhythm, exemplified the extreme mental discipline required of infantrymen in the Ardennes. This heightened awareness, forged through repeated exposure to danger, was paired with a physical tension that soldiers endure in cold, high-stakes environments. Muscles remained ready, eyes alert to micro-movements, and hands maintained a delicate balance between a steady grip and the necessary trigger sensitivity. The human cost was ever present: fatigue, hunger, and cold eroded energy, yet survival instincts sharpened perception. Harper's focus illustrates how a single soldier's mental acuity could transform an otherwise routine defensive posture into a decisive moment of tactical significance. From a tactical perspective, Harper's position represented a classic defensive choke point. The lane through which the Germans advanced was narrow, flanked by ruined structures and skeletal trees that funneled movement and limited enemy cover. American doctrine emphasized overlapping fields of fire and pre-planned defensive angles, but Harper's success depended on exploiting micro-opportunities, timing his shots, prioritizing targets, and maintaining concealment. Every decision mattered. Shooting too early could expose his position and allow the enemy to adjust. Waiting too long could enable the Germans to close in. Harper's approach demonstrated the effectiveness of individual initiative within the framework of small unit tactics. By using the terrain, timing, and the enemy's predictable movement, he maximized the defensive potential of a single rifle, turning a narrow forest lane into a deadly funnel that amplified his firepower. Harper's rifle, a heavily worn M1 Garand, was central to this engagement. Despite being mocked for its rusted bolt and chipped stock, the weapon remained mechanically reliable in capable hands. The semi-automatic Garand allowed for rapid follow-up shots, giving Harper a significant advantage over the bolt-action rifles of the approaching Germans. The rifle's condition required intimate knowledge. Cold temperatures affected lubrication and metal contraction, and minor corrosion could interfere with smooth cycling. Harper's months of experience with this rifle allowed him to compensate for these limitations, operating the weapon with a rhythm that kept each shot precise. The incident underscores how technological familiarity, often underestimated, can transform a seemingly ordinary tool into a decisive instrument on the battlefield. Leadership, though not always direct in the field, played a critical role in Harper's readiness. His squad leader had fostered an environment where initiative and responsibility were encouraged, even among junior enlisted men. This empowerment enabled Harper to make split-second decisions without waiting for orders, a factor that proved essential in the rapid unfolding of events. The culture of leadership extended beyond command. It encompassed the trust built between soldiers. Harper's ability to act decisively stemmed from confidence that his comrades would support the position and respond as needed. Effective leadership in such moments is not always visible on the battlefield but manifests through the autonomy and judgment of trained individuals operating within a cohesive unit. The German soldiers advancing through the Ardennes were trained professionals, conditioned for aggression and precision. Their confidence, however, was tempered by months of retreat and disrupted supply lines. The approaching squad assumed that American forces were spread thin, underestimating the readiness of individual riflemen. Each step they took reflected tactical discipline, scanning the terrain, maintaining spacing, and advancing cautiously, but their training could not fully compensate for the unpredictability of a skilled defender occupying a concealed position. Harper's ability to read the enemy mirrored the Germans' own tactical awareness. He noted subtle hesitations, glances towards suspected cover, the slight pause before each step, and the uniform rhythm of their advance. These micro-indicators, invisible to less experienced observers, provided him with an edge. In combat, understanding the enemy's patterns can amplify the effectiveness of a single soldier, allowing him to shape the outcome of a skirmish with minimal resources. The moral dimension of this encounter highlights the interplay of courage, duty, and consequence. Harper's moment required immediate decision-making under intense stress. He was not acting out of anger or vengeance but from a sense of responsibility to his squad, to the defensive line, and to the broader mission of the American Army. Moments like these underscore a fundamental truth of warfare. Moral clarity often emerges under pressure. Harper's focus, patience, and deliberate action reflected an ethical commitment to protect his comrades while fulfilling his role within the larger operational context. The moral courage to act decisively, especially when mistakes carry lethal consequences, distinguishes ordinary soldiers from those capable of extraordinary impact. Beyond personal skill and initiative, Harper's engagement demonstrates the practical application of infantry tactics in microscale operations. Positioning, cover utilization, and fire discipline converge to create a force multiplier effect. The narrow approach and predictable German movements allowed a single rifleman to disrupt multiple attackers in rapid succession. This micro-tactical success highlights how even in large-scale campaigns, small unit proficiency can dictate immediate outcomes. Training that emphasizes situational awareness, reaction speed, and strategic patience ensures that individual actions support broader operational objectives. Harper's timing, shot selection, and movement exemplified these principles in practice, validating the tactical doctrine instilled by American command structures. The reliability of Harper's rifle, coupled with his intimate knowledge of its mechanics, transformed what others considered a flawed weapon into an instrument of precision. Unlike modern weapons with redundant safety mechanisms, semi-automatic rifles of the period demanded physical consistency, cycling the bolt correctly, managing recoil, and maintaining proper sight alignment. Harper's careful maintenance and repeated exposure under field conditions meant that even a rusted rifle could outperform theoretically superior equipment in unskilled hands. This angle demonstrates that battlefield effectiveness depends as much on operator proficiency as on technology itself. The synergy of man and machine can override superficial limitations, producing results that defy expectations. The Germans were within 20 meters now, their coordinated steps echoing softly over the frozen lane. Harper's breath remained steady, his eye trained along the worn iron sights of his M1 Garand. Every second expanded, stretching into anticipation as instinct and experience merged. He knew the rifle's quirks intimately, the subtle hesitation in the bolt, the faint resistance in the trigger, but these imperfections had become extensions of his own body. The first shot cracked sharply, ringing through the still forest. A German soldier staggered, falling into the snow, a muted cry swallowed by the trees. The others paused instinctively, scanning the lane for the unseen shooter. Harper's training kicked in. He fired again, this time tracking 2 targets in rapid succession. The semi-automatic Garand allowed him to cycle shots without pause, each round finding a precise mark. In 40 seconds, 6 German soldiers were down, their advance broken, confusion rippling through the remaining forces. Harper's positioning on the slight elevation behind the ruined wall amplified his effectiveness. Every movement had been calculated: body posture, recoil absorption, sight adjustment. The combination of instinct and rigorous small unit tactics turned a seemingly isolated moment into a decisive defensive action. The Germans' response was immediate yet disorganized. A machine gun position attempted suppressive fire from the edge of the tree line, but Harper had anticipated this. Each shot was timed and measured. He shifted slightly between firings to maintain concealment, minimizing his silhouette while maximizing his impact. In these critical seconds, Harper transformed from a lone rifleman into a force multiplier, his single rifle reshaping the local battlefield dynamics. This rapid sequence of events highlighted the extreme efficiency of preparation meeting opportunity. Harper's squad, observing from nearby, remained pinned but unharmed, their morale bolstered by the sudden neutralization of the immediate threat. Small unit doctrine had emphasized decisive action and individual initiative, and here it manifested in real time with lethal clarity. The physical strain on Harper was evident, heart pounding, muscles tensed, fingers raw against the cold metal of the rifle. Yet there was no hesitation. Each decision was an extension of prior experience, recognizing target priority, understanding firing sequence, and predicting enemy reactions. This moment, though brief, exemplified the convergence of preparation, courage, and mechanical proficiency under conditions of extreme duress. Harper's success also underscores the psychological impact of individual action. The remaining German soldiers retreated into the cover of the forest, their disciplined advance shattered by unexpected precision. Confidence eroded quickly when faced with an adversary who defied expectation. In battle, a single effective defense can ripple outward, altering not only immediate outcomes but also shaping enemy perception, caution, and willingness to engage. As the final German fell to the snow, Harper's awareness did not waver. He scanned the lane, ensuring no immediate threat remained. In these fleeting moments, the forest returned a tense stillness, broken only by distant echoes of movement from the broader engagement. The rifle, though battered and rusted, had performed beyond expectation, a testament to the importance of operator skill over superficial weapon condition. This sequence, the rapid elimination of 6 advancing soldiers within 40 seconds, was more than a display of marksmanship. It was the crystallization of small unit doctrine, individual initiative, and mechanical mastery. Harper had exploited terrain, weapon familiarity, and enemy behavior to achieve an outcome that would resonate beyond the immediate skirmish, reinforcing both American tactical doctrine and the importance of individual action in shaping battlefield results. The forest, once tense with anticipation, now held a fragile calm. But even in this moment of victory, the engagement had shifted the immediate tactical balance. Nearby units, inspired by Harper's decisive action, adjusted their own positions, while enemy forces regrouped, wary of further losses. The Ardennes battlefield had seen a microcosm of combat where preparation, nerve, and skill coalesced to alter the course of a fleeting but critical encounter. The shock of Harper's action rippled instantly through the German ranks. Soldiers who had advanced with confidence were now retreating, their formation shattered. Those remaining hesitated, scanning the tree line for the hidden threat that had neutralized 6 of their comrades in under a minute. Morale, already strained from continuous engagement in the Ardennes, fractured under the weight of unexpected precision. Nearby German units, hearing the sharp report of the Garand and the sudden collapse of their squad, began repositioning defensively. Commanders attempted to regain control, issuing orders through tense, terse shouts and gestures. Yet the initial advantage had shifted. Harper's decisive response forced the enemy to react rather than act, disrupting any coordinated maneuver and buying critical time for American positions down the line. Harper's squad, though initially pinned, now moved with renewed confidence. The lethal efficiency of one soldier had altered the dynamic of the local battlefield, allowing supporting units to reposition and reinforce without immediate engagement. Every member recognized the value of discipline, observation, and readiness. The psychological boost of seeing a single rifleman's effectiveness in action underscored the broader lesson of small unit impact. Decisive, competent action could offset numerical parity. Enemy officers quickly adapted, attempting flanking maneuvers through the surrounding trees. Harper anticipated these movements, adjusting his positioning slightly to maintain optimal fields of fire while remaining concealed. Each adjustment reflected both experience and tactical training. The rhythm of battle dictated rapid decisions, and Harper executed them flawlessly. The Germans' cautious probing movements slowed their advance further, effectively stalling the assault and preventing reinforcements from committing fully into the lane. The semi-automatic rate of fire of the M1 Garand allowed Harper to sustain pressure on multiple targets without significant pause. His precise shot placement prevented any opportunity for immediate counterattack. The Germans, recognizing the unexpected lethality, became hesitant, their prior confidence replaced by caution bordering on fear. This hesitation amplified the effectiveness of Harper's squad, providing space for artillery support and broader unit maneuvers to adjust to the evolving engagement. At the broader tactical level, the skirmish demonstrated the interplay between individual action and unit cohesion. Harper's engagement highlighted how a single soldier could influence not just immediate enemy behavior but also operational tempo. The Germans' hesitation delayed subsequent attacks, buying time for American commanders to organize defensive measures along adjacent lanes. Communication between squads improved, as soldiers relayed information about enemy movement and position, reinforcing the importance of observation and initiative. Despite the chaos, Harper maintained discipline. He continued scanning the lane, his mind anticipating further threats while monitoring the performance of his weapon. Even as the initial threat had been neutralized, he understood that battlefield conditions were fluid and unforgiving. His calm focus amidst adrenaline-driven action exemplified the qualities American forces had emphasized in training: composure, awareness, and the ability to act decisively when opportunity and necessity converged. The enemy eventually began a cautious withdrawal from the immediate lane, leaving Harper's position unchallenged for the moment. This shift allowed American infantry to consolidate defensive lines, strengthen weak points, and coordinate with supporting artillery and reconnaissance units. The ripple effect of Harper's action extended beyond his immediate field of fire, influencing the broader operational posture of both sides within the sector. In retrospect, the engagement served as a microcosm of the Ardennes winter campaign. Individual initiative, effective use of terrain, mastery of weapon systems, and understanding enemy behavior converged in a brief yet decisive confrontation. Harper's 40 seconds of action demonstrated that in modern combat, particularly in constrained and challenging environments, the integration of skill, preparation, and rapid decision-making could produce disproportionate results. As the forest quieted, the remaining German forces regrouped, wary of further exposure, while Harper's squad maintained readiness for subsequent movements. The immediate battle was resolved, but its lessons persisted. Every soldier mattered, every decision had weight, and mastery of one's tools and environment could redefine the dynamics of a skirmish. Harper's decisive action had not only secured his position but had also exemplified the broader principles of American infantry effectiveness in the Ardennes Winter Campaign. The immediate aftermath of Harper's 42nd engagement was tangible and profound. 6 German soldiers had been neutralized in rapid succession, halting their advance and disrupting the cohesion of nearby enemy squads. The lane through the Ardennes, previously a potential corridor for penetration, remained firmly under American control. Harper's actions bought critical time for reinforcements and repositioning, ensuring that his platoon could strengthen defensive lines without facing immediate pressure. Casualties on the German side were significant for such a small engagement. The rapid elimination of a squad forced neighboring units to adopt caution, slowing their advance and creating tactical gaps in their broader operational plan. Reports from nearby American units later confirmed the disruption. Enemy patrols hesitated longer than expected, and officers noted a temporary decline in aggressiveness along adjacent forest lanes. In battle, such hesitation can multiply the effects of a single decisive action, shifting the tempo and forcing adversaries to revise strategies on the fly. For Harper's squad, the psychological impact was immediate. Witnessing one soldier's skill turn a potentially deadly encounter into a controlled engagement reinforced confidence in training, discipline, and leadership. Soldiers who had been tense and apprehensive moments earlier now moved with a renewed sense of assurance, understanding that tactical awareness and initiative could prevent the enemy from overwhelming their positions. Morale, often fragile in harsh winter campaigns, was reinforced by concrete evidence of competence and effectiveness in combat. The broader operational implications extended beyond immediate morale. Commanders recognized the value of empowering individual riflemen to act decisively within the scope of small unit doctrine. Harper's engagement became an example cited in after-action discussions, demonstrating that even in numerically balanced encounters, disciplined and skilled soldiers could produce disproportionately effective results. The combination of terrain, preparation, and rapid decision-making had amplified a single soldier's impact, reinforcing American tactical principles for the Ardennes Winter Campaign. From a logistical perspective, the encounter underscored the importance of maintaining weapon functionality and familiarity. Harper's rusted M1 Garand, though dismissed by peers, performed flawlessly under stress, emphasizing the broader principle that operator skill and weapon knowledge could outweigh superficial imperfections. Unit leaders encouraged soldiers to treat equipment with care, practice extensively, and understand their tools intimately, ensuring that when the moment arrived, performance would not be hindered by mechanical issues. American forces also observed the enemy's reaction, gaining insights into German behavior under pressure. Hesitation, overcaution, and disrupted command sequences highlighted vulnerabilities in the Wehrmacht's winter operations. This information informed subsequent maneuvers, allowing units to anticipate responses, allocate resources efficiently, and exploit psychological weaknesses. Harper's engagement, though localized, provided actionable intelligence for nearby commanders, demonstrating the broader utility of individual actions in shaping battlefield awareness and decision-making. The human cost on the American side was minimal in this engagement, a testament to effective positioning, discipline, and the timing of Harper's fire. No American soldiers were lost or severely wounded, and the squad retained its operational capability. The contrast with the enemy's losses reinforced the tactical lesson. In constrained terrain, skillful use of cover, patience, and decisive action can dramatically shift outcomes in favor of the defending force. As the squad regrouped, Harper himself remained vigilant. The adrenaline subsided, replaced by heightened awareness of potential follow-up attacks. Each member understood that success in battle was not solely measured by enemy casualties but by the preservation of unit integrity, the maintenance of defensive positions, and the ability to respond to evolving threats. Harper's 40 seconds of action exemplified these principles, offering a real-world demonstration of how training, courage, and preparation intersect in high-stakes combat. Reports from nearby American units documented the immediate and extended impact of Harper's engagement. Officers noted the sudden disruption of German formations, the hesitation of enemy patrols, and the preservation of a critical defensive lane. One after-action report, filed by a platoon leader stationed less than a kilometer away, emphasized the psychological shock inflicted by a single rifleman's precise action, stating that one man's decisive fire halted the enemy's advance and prevented potential casualties among our squad. Such accounts reinforce the principle that individual initiative could shape not only local outcomes but also influence larger operational movements. German records corroborated the disruption. Unit logs mentioned an unexpected defensive presence that neutralized a squad rapidly, forcing the command to reconsider flanking maneuvers and delaying their timetable for assault. The effect, though localized, reflected the broader challenges faced by the Wehrmacht during the Ardennes winter campaign: depleted forces, stretched supply lines, and the constant threat of American adaptability and skill. Harper's actions became an unintentional tactical case study, highlighting vulnerabilities in an otherwise disciplined army. The engagement also served as a learning point for American forces. Harper's ability to maximize the effectiveness of a single rifle in constrained terrain underscored the importance of individualized training, weapon familiarity, and tactical patience. Officers emphasized that even soldiers wielding less than perfect equipment could achieve extraordinary results if properly prepared and mentally focused. This perspective influenced subsequent training sessions, reinforcing the doctrine of small unit initiative and encouraging soldiers to develop intuitive battlefield judgment. Morale across the squad and nearby units remained high following the encounter. Witnessing Harper's precision and composure under extreme pressure fostered confidence and a sense of shared competence. Soldiers reported increased trust in their comrades' abilities, a critical factor in sustaining operational effectiveness during prolonged engagements. Leadership took note, recognizing that such moments of individual heroism, rooted in skill rather than recklessness, could inspire units and reinforce the psychological resilience required for winter campaigns. On a broader strategic level, the skirmish exemplified how micro-engagements could influence operational tempo. Delays in German movement, cautious repositioning, and the psychological impact of sudden, lethal precision contributed to a cumulative advantage for American forces in the sector. Though the encounter lasted mere seconds in real time, the implications extended beyond the immediate lane, shaping decisions, responses, and positioning across adjacent fronts. Harper's actions demonstrated the interdependence of tactical skill and strategic consequence, bridging the micro and macro scales of combat. Historical accounts of the Ardennes campaign often highlight major offensives, artillery barrages, and armored clashes, but micro-actions such as Harper's were equally influential. They offer insight into the human element of warfare, decision-making under pressure, the significance of individual skill, and the interplay of morale, perception, and timing. Harper's engagement reinforced that every soldier, every position, and every moment carried weight in the broader narrative of the battle. Finally, Harper's 40-second engagement left a lasting impression on both immediate witnesses and later historical analysis. It demonstrated that even under harsh winter conditions with fatigued troops and imperfect equipment, individual initiative could decisively influence outcomes. By neutralizing 6 enemy soldiers with precision, he preserved American positions, bolstered morale, and created a tactical ripple that affected enemy movements and local operational planning. As the engagement concluded and the forest returned to tense quiet, the lessons endured: skill, preparation, and decisive action could shape battles, even within seconds. Harper's role, though brief in duration, exemplified the principles that underpinned American infantry's success in the Ardennes winter campaign and beyond. Harper's 40-second engagement in the Ardennes stands as a testament to the profound impact of individual action in warfare. In a conflict defined by massive movements of men and machines, it is easy to overlook the decisive role of a single soldier. Yet, in those fleeting moments, skill, preparation, and courage coalesced to produce an outcome that echoed beyond the immediate battlefield. 6 lives halted, a defensive line preserved, and the enemy's advance disrupted, all through the focused action of one man with a worn rifle. The encounter highlights the enduring human dimension of combat. Training and doctrine provide the foundation, but it is instinct, awareness, and presence of mind under pressure that determine results in critical moments. Harper's ability to read the enemy, exploit terrain, and operate his rifle with intimate familiarity demonstrates the intersection of human skill and technology. Even equipment dismissed as flawed can achieve extraordinary outcomes when wielded by a competent, disciplined operator. Strategically, moments like these illustrate how microactions can influence larger campaigns. The Ardennes Winter Offensive was a complex interplay of logistics, tactics, and morale. Harper's engagement, though brief, reinforced American defensive doctrine, inspired nearby troops, and forced the enemy to react rather than act. It serves as a reminder that in warfare, the consequences of seconds can resonate far beyond their immediate context. Beyond tactics and strategy, the story carries an enduring lesson in resilience and perception. What others mocked, a rusted rifle, an unassuming soldier, proved deadly under the right conditions. History is shaped not only by numbers and machines but by the resolve, courage, and judgment of individuals. Harper's moment is emblematic of countless unseen acts of skill and bravery that collectively define the outcome of war. In the stillness that followed, the Ardennes bore witness to a quiet but undeniable truth: preparation, courage, and precision can defy expectation. One soldier, one weapon, and 40 seconds of unwavering focus changed the course of a skirmish and etched a lesson into the annals of military history. The legacy endures, reminding us that in the theater of war, decisive action often resides in the hands of the seemingly ordinary, waiting for the moment to become extraordinary.